Hi there, BookTube. It's Ros, and I'm here with a short review of a new novel, and that's The Echoes by Evie Wyld. Kind of get it so it's not too much shine there. That's better, isn't it? And this is Wyld's fourth novel. She's an Anglo-Australian author, and I was keen to read it and read it in September for a few reasons. One is that I read her third novel, Bass Rock, and found that really stimulating and made me think, oh, this is an author that I would revisit. I'd read something else by her. So that's reason number one. Reason number two is I'm really enjoying reading short books in September. Short in September is such a good excuse for that, and this is just around 200 pages. But most importantly, September is the month when Scott of Gunpowder Fiction and Plot exhorts us to read more Australian fiction, Australian books generally, and, I try and cooperate. And as I say, Wyld is I would describe her as an Anglo-Australian author. She was born in South London. She did a lot of her growing up on her grandparents' farm in New South Wales in Australia, and now lives in London again. And it's like both countries kind of want to claim her because she's good. And she's won, I think, two of the big Australian book prizes, the Miles Franklin Award and the Stella Prize. So, as I say, Australians think she's Australian, and maybe, Londoners think she's a Londoner. And delightfully, this book is set in both Australia and in South London, so that kind of really hits the spot. Now, as I say, it's a shortish book, only around 200 pages, but it's one of those books that packs a lot into a small space, almost too much. But we'll come back to that, shall we? One thing I knew from Bass Rock, which was very much proved to be the case again in The Echoes, is that Wyld is an author who can take on writing a book that has multiple perspectives, multiple timelines, takes place in different kind of places and different time periods, and she can carry it off. She can carry the reader with her, even though she's doing a lot of jumping around, and that was very much true in this one. Now, it's another book, yet another book, one might say, that deals with intergenerational trauma, and there's a lot of those books around at the moment, aren't there? Are there too many? No, I don't think so, because it's one of those topics that is just it's like it's got a lot of mileage in it for a novelist, hasn't it? It's a rich theme to mine for novelists, and I think that's what she successfully does in this. So the present day in the book is kind of nowish, and as I say, in South London. In fact, we're with this youngish woman, Hannah, in the flat that she shared with Max, her partner, and Max has recently died. And Hannah is Australian, and she has a past that got her to leave Australia and move to London, where she met Max, and that particular part of London, and how and why is gradually revealed. But also we get her mother's story, and to a lesser extent her grandmother's story, the grandmother who was from that part of London and moved to Australia as a child. So we've kind of got three generations, and we hop back and forth between all three and different bits in the lives of all three of those women. Yeah. So you could be befuddled, but you're not. She holds that. It coheres successfully. That's not a problem. There are a couple of things that could have been a problem about this book for me, and I'll unpick them a bit for you, because then you'll know if they might bother you. Number one of the main characters is a ghost. Max, Hannah's newly dead partner is appears as one of the narrators of the story. And I don't always love kind of books with a supernatural element in it, but what I have to say about this is that for a supernatural being, Max is incredibly natural. He's a very sort of matter-of-fact ghost, quite surprised that this has happened to him, and a bit bewildered and confused. His one point of reference is a fictional one, because he's trying to think, is it going to be like the film Ghost from about 1990 with Patrick Swayze and Demi Moore, and Patrick Swayze's the ghost and Demi Moore's his ex-partner, his partner who was his partner till he died. Max is trying to think, will it be like that? Will I get? Is there something I need to find out? And when I found it out, I'll then or something I have to do while I'm here. Which is what was true for Patrick Swayze. And surprisingly, for me, it works, and it adds something to the story. It adds another layer of knowledge at times. We know things that we wouldn't know if Max wasn't a character. For example, that the coat, one of his clothes that a coat in amongst the clothes that Hannah's sending off to the charity shop, that in the pocket of that coat is a box with the engagement ring in it, that he was meaning to use to propose to her, and sort of didn't quite manage it just in the few days before he died. There would be another way to convey that, but it gives it a kind of great dramatic irony, I suppose. And generally the sort of the Max character adds to the moving elements in the book, but also does a couple of other crucial things. It helps you think about time and gives a sort of a perspective of time in the book, which is valuable to the multiple stories. I don't want to give things away, and I don't want to give away the ending, but Max as an observer is key in that sense. Another thing that it does, though, and this is really crucial, is Max actually brings a bit of light, a bit of lightness to the story. It is one of those books where, as I say, you're dealing with abuse, you're dealing with intergenerational trauma. You get kind of constant reveals of yet another awful thing. That could be too much. It could, I think, I don't know, Little Life, or something like that. But what Max brings is he helps us see the love story that was Max and Hannah's love story, but also he brings humour. He brings a sort of or lighter moments, like his relationship with the cat that she adopts after he dies is just brilliant. That really sort of lifts the book and gives you things to smile about. So yeah, The Ghost turned out to be a win, even though I'm often not sure about it. The second thing that could have been an issue with the book, I had to reflect on more before I kind of came to the conclusion that it was okay. Now, as I said, this is a book about 3 generations or in a white settler Australian family, and sort of abuse and neglect, and how that kind of it's kind of carried from one generation to another. And Wyld made the decision to add another thread to that story, which is the to bring in something about the stolen generations. So the Aboriginal Australian and Torres Island people's experience of having their children stolen and placed in kind of like residential schools, homes, to have their identity sort of erased and to be trained for work. This was something that particularly targeted were children who were of dual heritage, who mostly had like a white father and a First Nation mother, and it was a monstrous process that happened between the late 19th century and up to the 1960s, and even some of these schools it didn't close until the 1970s. So, and it would be, perhaps one could feel that it's a bit, I don't know, almost like tokenistic to kind of add an element of that to the book, because it sort of almost comes from left field. But I can see why Evie Wyld wanted to do that. She, if you're writing about sort of that time period and abuse and neglect in that time period in a European settler family, is somehow it would almost be I don't know. She obviously wanted to acknowledge that there was a bigger picture of abuse and neglect going on in the same place at that time, and that to sort of not reference that was almost sort of dishonest or neglecting something. So what she does is she has the family, Hannah's parents, and Hannah and her sister. They are living in on land that was owned by a residential school and home that was run by the parents of the man that they bought their bit of land from. The schoolhouse is still there. He is an old man, but they get to know him a bit. He was involved as a boy and a young man in running this dreadful establishment. So it's a way, I suppose, of touching on a key bit of Australian history. And she's careful to do it in a way that sort of acknowledges that it's not her story to tell, So she doesn't try and kind of put herself in the heads of the children that lived in that home. Really, she's sort of respectful and one step away, but acknowledging it, and I think that's okay. Yeah, I was comfortable with it, and could see her sort of her moral and emotional reasoning for doing that. So overall, is it a good book? Her sort of sense of place and the way she conveys that is tremendous. Particularly for me. I mean, I sort of know the bit of London that she's sitting it in, so that part rang true. So that gave me confidence that the atmosphere and feeling and heat, smells and sounds and landscape of sort of outbacky kind of bit of Australia where the family are living, that was equally realistic. So I enjoyed that. And she writes a good character, and as I say, she can juggle those multiple timelines. So if you like that kind of multi-perspective book, and you don't mind a book that's full of misery and abuse, but has lighter moments and some kind of resolution, then do read it.